You hit the nail on the head there. I thought it was obviously a very bad day for DC, but I thought it was the perfect day for Jon Jones. You know, that promo he cut, went over, kind of kissed the top of DC's head. It's, you know, says he wants to be a man like him. You know, nearly brought a tear to an eye, like, because it was a guy. Jon Jones is a guy who's been constantly accused of being fake, and like it's a little bit like McGregor as well. After fights, you just see the real person all the time. You know, after the Nate Diaz fight, McGregor, you know, was, you know, as real as he's ever been. After fights where he's won Dustin Poirier as well, every fighter he comes out and he says he respects him. Jon Jones, after that fight, it was really nice to see that. It looked like someone maybe who got his life back on track and who felt a little bit sorry and maybe a little bit humble as well. Like Jon Jones used to be a guy who always said he was humble, and when people say they're humble, you know they're not humble. But this was kind of acting humble and being humble, and I thought that was was really good. You know?
But look, we've seen that before. Like we've seen that from, you know, and that's why I'm a little bit, dude. It was, I mean, honestly, it was one hell of a babyface promo, but at the same time, like. I mean, the whole thing was incredible. I mean, you know, him dropping down, crying, being overcome with emotion, the whole promo that he cut, talking about DC and talking about getting his life back together. Like, you know, in a normal situation, that would be an emotionally overwhelming moment that might change the way some people think about people. But with Jon Jones, like, I can't help it, man. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I mean, I've heard this before. Like, I've seen this guy do this before. And, you know, you say that after the fights, you know, that's when you see the real emotion. And I think that's true. But I mean, after the last time they fought, you know, he said that he hoped DC was off crying somewhere. And so, like, it's, you know, it's hard for me to fully invest and believe in him. I hope that everything that he has gone through has led him to a real moment, that he has gotten his shit together. You know, the passing of his mother, which is during his training camp, which is incredibly sad. Yeah. I hope that Jon Jones has, you know, finally gotten his shit together, because if he has, he's got a chance to be a really, really big star, the kind of star he should have been years ago. But in the back of my mind, I just think, I've heard this shit before, dude. I've heard you say this stuff before.
Yeah. Like, you're talking about big star, great fighter as well. Like, I've been a big fan of Demetrius Johnson as being the pound for pound number one for years, but I definitely think it's neck and neck now. Like I still think Demetrius Johnson, skill for skill, is definitely the best fighter we've ever seen in MMA. But Jon Jones, like, as a big man, it's harder as a big man to have those unbelievable skills just to be so fast and so technical and everything. But he, like, as I said, he added power to his game. I thought his striking technique and just his boxing and everything, his range management against someone as good as Daniel Cormier was just excellent again. Like, it's hard to say he's not the pound for pound number one at the moment. I know you've been a big advocate of him. You think he's the greatest of all time, don't you?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've thought that for, I think, probably 6 years now. I just think, you know, and you're right. Like, Demetrius Johnson, the thing about him, I mean, he is literally great at everything. Yeah. And the thing that gives him the edge that's so impressive is that it's just so fast. But Jon Jones is also great at everything. And he's so much more creative and varied and willing to try things that nobody else is. Like, it's like he's what, I mean, back in the day, honestly, dude, when he first started off, when he first got to the UFC, I mean, the dude literally watched YouTube videos of people doing stuff in movie fight scenes and then tried it in his fights. And like, he's a lot more disciplined now than he used to be back in the day, but he's still that creative. He can hit you from so many different directions, try so many different things. And I just think if you look at his record, there's nobody that can look at his record of the people he has beaten over the course of, you know, the past 6 years or whatever, and tell me that he's not the greatest fighter in the history of the sport. To me, it's not even a debate. Demetrius Johnson is fantastic. Is easily the number 2 pound for pound, probably even maybe the second greatest fighter of all time for me, but even better than Fedor. But there's just no way he touches Jon Jones. For all his faults and all the stuff that he's done outside the cage, Jon Jones inside the cage is a utter revelation. He's an utter revelation.
Will there be another former UFC champion added to his list in the next fight? Do you think this Brock Lesnar fight's going to happen?
Yeah, I do. I do think it's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be next. But I mean, I said it last week. Like it's a lot more likely than people think it is. And especially now, I mean, you can tell, dude, Brock Lesnar is, I mean, I'm speaking from personal experience. Brock Lesnar is the hardest human being on the planet to get in touch with, to talk to, especially if you're a reporter. But even if you're just a normal person, he's impossible to talk to. And the fact that, the Associated Press was able to reach him within 20 minutes of that promo ending and go to get a quote and get a story out, like that shows you just how much Brock Lesnar either wants that fight or wants to use that fight to get a better WWE deal. But honestly, like I'm at the point now where I think that even if he is using it to negotiate a WWE deal, and he does re-sign with WWE, he still fights Jon Jones. I think it's just like, when he got the permission to fight Mark Hunt, I think he's going to get permission to fight Jon Jones. Cause I mean, honestly, for WWE, it's a win-win. If he goes in and loses to Jon Jones, so what? Jon Jones is the greatest fighter in the history of the sport. If he goes in and beats Jon Jones, I mean, holy shit, that's, WWE's wet dream. And so I think you see that fight in 2018. People are talking about December 30th. It's not happened to December 30th. But I do think you see it in 2018. I think that I'm not sure when. If it doesn't happen in January or February, then I don't think it happens until next summer because, he's got the WrestleMania stuff. WWE is going to be on TV every week. Can't really take time off to train. So I think you could, if I were to predict it, I think ultimately what you see is after WrestleMania, he goes into training camp and he fights Jon Jones at International Fight Week next summer.